This is the talk of Music City Real Estate.
Welcome back to another episode of the talk of Music City Real Estate,
where we educate and motivate all things real estate.
My name is Monty Moore with Realty One Group Music City.
And I'm Blake Johnson with Realty One Group Music City.
Playing Carey Ann Cyr with CMG Financial and my mortgage team, right?
That's right.
So every week we'll be posting a new episode chock full of Nashville real estate value.
And you can follow along and subscribe at talkmusiccity.com.
Got a question for us? Ask away at questions@talkmusiccity.com. Blake Johnson, man, oh man, I don't know if you can possibly fill the shoes of Carey Ann Cyr, number one mortgage professional in the whole wide universe.
Yeah, and I left my high heels at home.
Yeah, well, good. Good. We missed Carey Ann. She couldn't be here last minute. She's been taking care of some family stuff, but I'm so blessed to have somebody that I'm very grateful to agree to come on our podcast, Mr. Darryl Davis. Darryl, thank you for coming on.
Yeah,
as I was sharing earlier, I want everybody. Well, first of all, who is Darryl? Because we have a conviction that before people believe the message, they need to believe the messenger. So let's talk about let's share his intro.
Yeah. So we're really excited to have Darryl Davis with us today. For those who don't know who he is, let me share some of his accomplishments. Darryl started his real estate career at 19 years old on Long Island, New York, and quickly climbed the ladder to become a top producer, averaging 6 transactions a month. Then a licensed broker and manager of a new office that became the number one listing and selling branch within the first 6 months of operation. He's a best-selling author with McGraw-Hill Publishing for his book, How to Become a Power Agent in Real Estate, and author of 2 other books, including How to Design a Life Worth Smiling About.
Love that.
Yeah, love that too. He is the founder of the only year-long real estate coaching program, the Power Agent Program, which has proven results of agents doubling their income over their previous year. And lastly, Darryl is a certified speaking professional. It is a speaking profession's international measure of professional platform skill, which is held by less than 2% of speakers worldwide. So,
wow.
Yes.
Wow. Are we worthy? I'm not sure that we're worthy.
I think we are.
Darryl, thank you for being on.
You're welcome. You'll get my bill in the mail.
Yeah.
Good.
Send that to Carey Ann.
We'll send it to Carey Ann.
Send it to Carey.
Yeah. Yeah. So thank you again for coming on, Darryl. I was sharing with you before we hit play here that you got my attention about 3 or 4 months ago. I'm always a proponent of encouraging people to check out Inman, to subscribe to Inman so they can help stay on top of things. That's one resource, certainly. And you had the conviction, I started to say kahunas, but I shouldn't say that, so I just say conviction. You had the conviction to write on a topic that many agents have really lost it on, and that is about the love letter. This is the title of the article, as you know. You owe it to yourself. Listen up, everybody. I think this is really, really an important ingredient here. You owe it to yourself to challenge buyer love letter misinformation. So let's talk about this, Darryl. Why would you call this misinformation? Aren't you afraid of doing something against the laws and the rules of the land and that kind of stuff? Tell us how you got to this point and why you have a conviction about this.
Monty, first of all, thanks, and Blake, thanks for having me on the show, and thanks for what you guys do for the local market, putting these shows on, and I think it's very awesome that you do this. We wrote the article because honestly, I'll tell you how this happened. I had somebody in my home, a good friend of mine, second mother almost to my son. She helped raise him.
Wow.
Her name's Suzanne. Suzanne's a licensed agent in Long Island, New York. And we got into this heated conversation about the buyer love letter. And by the way, she's not just an agent. She's a team leader in an office. So she's responsible for managing an office. Mm-hmm. And she started telling me and saying things like, you could lose your license.
Wow.
It's against the law to read the letter or to even be participating in the letter. And she was saying, and this is a really somebody I respect and a smart person, and she was spewing out this nonsense, brainwashed information that's been handed down from I guess trainer to trainer in these classes, and it's just totally wrong. So, and what got me passionate about it was what a disservice it does to buyers and sellers alike. Mm-hmm. So I went on a mission to literally spend 3 months of research, reading legal briefings, hire my attorney out of my pocket. Wow. And they're not cheap.
No, that's what
New York attorneys.
That's what I hear.
You know, they're not cheap.
Yeah.
And that's how that article came about.
Wow.
Because what we discovered is that it's actually, not only is it not against fair housing law, but it actually supports fair housing law. When you really read that article and really see the research behind the love letter and what it does, it goes with fair housing law. So anyway, so that's why we wrote the article.
That's quite a story to delve into something like that for 3 months, you know, digging in, because, and that's one of the things I noticed right off the bat is you had a conviction. This wasn't just something you wrote casually. You had a solid conviction that looking at your pedigree, looking at your qualifications and so forth, and been the time you've been in the industry and so forth, I was tempted to believe you anyhow. I mean, I did, because you were speaking to my own conviction about it. I never have seen anything that said we shouldn't do that. As a matter of fact, my belief over the years has been when the buyer and the seller connect on an emotional level, the odds are it's going to be probably a smoother transaction, because they're both brought to a point of relationship that they probably feel like they owe greater courtesy to one another. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes we live in such a disconnected world sometimes right now. To allow people to be connected on an emotional level through one of the most important times of their life, they're far more likely, I think, to bring their best self to the party. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Well, as a matter of fact, now I don't know if it was in the article that you referenced, because we did a follow-up article to it.
Right.
So there's a lot out there that we wrote for Inman. And yes, I recommend any real estate professional that's not subscribing to Inman or Risk Media, two leading publications in our industry, they should. Mm-hmm. But one of the things I discovered, Monty, was there was a study done about people's prejudice. And what they discovered is that initially, if we're honest, this is a study, we all are biased. We all have a little bit of bias in us, where we will make a judgment or decision about somebody when we first meet them based on their color, their last name, their religion. It's part of being human. Mm-hmm. But what the letter does is the opposite of what people are afraid of, saying that if you write in there that you are a married couple or a gay couple or something, people are they're gonna use that, and there's the fair housing break. The truth is, what the letter does is humanize the buyer. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And for the seller that does have, as we all do, that initial judgment or opinion about a person based on all that stuff, it gives a pause, because that study showed that too. When a person pauses from that initial judgment, mm-hmm. and they really wrap their brain around who this person is, that's how you handle, or that's how you combat racism and judgment, mm-hmm. is letting people see the commonality mm-hmm. of human beings. Mm-hmm. And that's what the letter does. Partly, I mean, there's a lot more, but that's one of them.
Yeah, it shares the heart.
Yes.
It's hard to argue with the heart.
Exactly. And, there's the other thing that's been misinformation is that, you can lose your license or it's a lawsuit. The interesting thing is, since the Fair Housing Act of 1968, or is it 65, 68, that if you look at the number of lawsuits based on the letter mm-hmm. against fair housing, mm-hmm. zero. Mm. Zero.
Wow.
There is more chance of a realtor getting into a lawsuit because they impeded somebody's First Amendment right of free speech, that's also been actually a judge in one of the rulings that dismissed a lawsuit on this. So anyway, anyway, as you can tell, I'm pretty passionate about it.
Well, and I'm encouraging you to share your heart about it, because again, I've seen I wonder how many people could have won had they been given better direction by their professional, that it's okay to share your heart. When we started doing this, right after your articles, we started bringing this topic up on our huddle call on Monday mornings with our team. We have a couple hundred agents, and half of those probably dial into our Monday huddle call. And it's interesting that within a couple of hours, then people started sending me, thank you for encouraging that, Monty. Thank you for sharing that article from Darryl Davis. That means so much, because I really had good experience with that in the past, but I'd stopped using it because of the fears of the fair housing situation that was being touted, that you and I both know is not true. And so it's so great to shine a light on that. And since then, we've had multiple agents sharing with us their victories because of sharing a letter. One of the agents shared that her clients, in this case, actually promoted it. They said, would they be okay if we shared something? And so she took the initiative to do a little investigation to find out a little bit about the seller. Well, it turned out the seller had passed away, but her son was in charge, and she was part of Better Homes and Gardens, and she had this wonderful garden and so forth. And so they met on that topic. They met on that topic that we love your mom's work. We're going to continue it on. I want you to know that we respect that. We want to continue the legacy of what she has accomplished in her all of her gardens and so forth. Well, guess who won the deal? It was pretty easy to figure that out. And then the next day I had one coming from another agent that said, Monty, I took your advice. I suggested we write a letter. I gave them a few topics maybe they want to touch on. And this couple wrote this beautiful letter and how grateful they were about how well the people had taken care of the home, and they're hoping that they get chosen and so forth. Well, for the first time in my 39 years of doing this, the sellers wrote a letter back. The sellers wrote a letter back. Awesome. And they said, we are so happy that we've taken such great care of this home, and went on and on and on about it. That's when it dawned on me that we have two parties here. We have two families here that truly want this to work out, and they've expressed that from their own hearts to one another. Now, tell me that's not going to be a smoother transaction than what some are, because we get this alienated arm's length, and I get it. It needs to be, it's business. I get that. But so many of the challenges, so many of the pressures could be alleviated if people were just real and shared their heart with one another. And we're hoping the best for each other and coming from a place of contribution and love, rather than, somebody's out to get me kind of thing.
Absolutely. I mean, when you think about these sellers, some of these sellers, they've been in their houses, and we've heard that expression where, if these walls could talk.
Right.
And for a lot of homeowners, they know who owned the house before them and who owned the house before them. And it's almost like that deed is a family tree.
Yes. Yes.
And so the seller, if they connect with that buyer, for them, they're not just selling the house. It's not just about the money. It's about transferring that deed to the next family that's going to take care of that home, that has those memories. It's an honor. It's very honorable for a homeowner when they're thinking this way. And it's a powerful, and that's where, like you just said, you'll have smoother transactions, because it becomes a little less about the money.
Yeah.
It's a little less about the greed.
Yes.
It's more about making a difference in people's lives and what this is really about, because real estate is much more than just transferring property.
Amen.
It's nobody buys or sells real estate to just buy and sell real estate unless they're an investor. Right. They're buying or selling because they have a kid on the way. They need a bigger home. They've got a new job and a new career. Unfortunately, some are separating, and so they're going on in their lives. The point is when people, what they're really committed to is their next level in life. And selling the house or buying the house is just a means to a bigger life-changing experience. So what realtors do, what we do in this industry, is much more than list and sell real estate. We actually help people get to their next level in life. And some of that's gotten lost. And that buyer love letter, man, brings back the humanity in what this profession is.
Man, I love that. I absolutely. Isn't that awesome? Are you picking up what he's putting down?
Yeah. I mean, I just remember, when you're first getting into this business, you realize how cold it is when, we're trying to broker these deals between buyer and sellers, but we were taught in school, while we're taking all the exams, that you have to be so far removed from the situation. And talking about this, I was a big proponent of love letters when I first got in. In fact, we won several deals with love letters. And then we live in a litigious society, and the fear of a lawsuit, the fear of offending someone, all of that stuff. It really it's daunting for a real estate agent. So seeing this and talking about humanity in an industry, in a profession where we're taught not to talk about humanity,
right?
Incredibly refreshing.
Right. Yeah.
Listen, and you can bring it to the absurd side too, because about the litigious, and that's why you shouldn't have the love letter, because if they say in the letter that they're not married or something, right? Yeah. Anything that would, but then you go, all right, well then maybe the seller, before the offer is written, shouldn't even see the buyers. Like, what if the buyer is of a different race?
Right.
So does that mean we never show houses? Because that could be a reason that they don't sell that person that house. And there's a lawsuit because they felt they were. What about the name on the offer? Maybe we got to white it out because you don't want to see that it's an Asian name or African-American name or, I mean, it's just crazy. It's crazy, And again, it's crazy because there's never been a lawsuit.
That is so cool.
Right.
That's so cool that you pointed that out, that you delved into the topic and you found out the truth of the matter. And that leads me to my next thought about that I mentioned earlier was, I'm so grateful that you challenged our industry to think. What has happened to critical thinking? Somebody decides to start quacking something, and everybody's afraid, all based on fear, not knowledge, not fact, not research like you did, but just somebody starts quacking and nobody wants to offend anybody, so it must be true, so you better line up with it. And that's how quickly this kind of mindset changed like that. And it's anyhow. Man, I'll
tell you one last thing on this, Monty. I'll just say that we should be more concerned as an industry that there are buyers that wanted to write a love letter and the agent said, no, we don't accept it. Our MLS says that we can't do that. We should be more concerned about that, because that buyer, maybe because they were told they didn't have their First Amendment right, they couldn't do that. And so therefore they paid $50,000, $75,000, $100,000 over the asking price. And they come back years later and say, you know what? Because you didn't let me do that, I overpaid to win that house. I'm suing you now because you impeded that. We should be more worried about that lawsuit in an industry.
Wow. That's good. That's good. That's a good point. It's a very good point. Because that's the direction that things end up being if we lose touch of humanity. Yes, it becomes just a total numbers situation, and we all know that it's a lot more. And that's exactly why I want to push this information out to the local real estate community, because we owe it to our clients to be the best professional that we can be. And the best professional that we can be isn't just getting them a house, it's helping them to connect to the humanity of entering into someone else's life, someone else's legacy, and being considered about taking that on possibly. I mean, there is that part of the equation. Darryl, I really loved if we could take a few minutes just to, because you obviously have the right heart to be the instructor, the trainer of real estate professionals. My passion is to raise the bar of an industry over the years that has gotten a black eye. And unfortunately, it's like this kind of stuff is why. Because we lost sight of critical thinking. We lost sight of what our real job is matchmaking, buyer and seller, and helping them, help lift up that experience and making it as smooth as possible, not to get into such a fit of, anyhow, the whole arm's length thing. Whenever I'm doing a deal with somebody, Blake will attest to this, I'll say, look, Mr. Agent, I know you're representing your side. I'm representing mine. But let's do something in addition to that. Let's represent something higher than that, and that is the integrity of the transaction. Let's help everybody walk away as a winner. Because if we do that, we now have less of a black eye in that person's mind because nobody walked away bleeding. Nobody walked away hurting any more than necessary. I mean, again, I know there's stuff that happens, but if we took that kind of mentality that we want win-win, because without win-win, there is no win, is my conviction. But where I was heading with where I interrupted myself was, I'd love to know more about, I understand you're not going to be in Nashville anytime soon, but I'm assuming that you have a service of coaching and so forth that people can dial into. Can you share with us today what services you bring to the real estate community besides waking us up with Inman on a topic that was so critical, so overdue?
Sure, Monty. I'm going to just grab onto what you said about integrity for a moment, because the part of our company culture, when I first started training back in 30 years ago, I had a personal commitment, and the personal commitment I have that we still have part of our culture today. And it's actually, we have a code of ethics for our coaching members, which we call Power Agents.
Wow.
Power Agents is we have the registered trademark worldwide on that for the real estate industry, Power Agent. And so we have a code of ethics. Power Agents have a code of ethics. And the first article in our code is to bring integrity back into the industry.
Oh,
now, the reason why that's our code, and the reason why it says not bring integrity to the industry, bring it back, is because this is going to blow your mind, Monty. If you look up the original Webster's Dictionary, the first one published in 1898, and you look at the definition of integrity, you'll see a bunch of stuff, be about your word and being honest, but it also says in the fair dealings with people in the transfer of property.
Wow.
Our industry,
that is cool,
was the definition of integrity.
Holy cow. That just blew my mind. I'm sorry.
Yeah, man.
Oh my gosh.
So
that's enough to make you passionate about our industry right there.
So in our training, we have this worksheet. It's called the integrity sheet, or you be in your word. Our Power Agents, we have a motto: Power Agents don't sell people, we serve people. And Power Agents don't close people, we coach people. So I tell Power Agents, our members, that when you go into a listing appointment, don't script these people and close these people, because again, it's not about listing and selling a house. It's about their next level. What you need to do, what a good coach does, is you find out what somebody's committed to, and based on what they're committed to, you give them coaching. So when I'm talking to a seller, when we're talking to sellers, we need to find out where you're moving to, why there, what would happen to your plans if it didn't, because that's really what our job is.
Right.
Our job is not to sell the house.
Right.
Our job is to get them to their next level.
Right.
So your focus on the listing appointment is not selling them on price and selling them on commission. No, it's what are you committed to? What's the end result? What are we trying to accomplish here?
Right.
Now, based on what they tell us, all right, let me coach you on how to get to your next level. You need to be on MLS. And here's how my company uses the tool called MLS, because just like a chef, they have tools. Mm-hmm. You could take two chefs, put them into a kitchen with the same tools, and they could produce two different results using the same tools. Mm-hmm. Why? Because the skill of the chef. Mm-hmm. Let me tell you at my company how we use the tools of MLS.
I love this guy. I love this guy.
Here's another here, let me share this tool, which is the open house. See, we don't do open house like anybody else. Here's how we do though. And then so now that's how you explain to the homeowner how you're going to help them get to their next level. That's serving. That's coaching.
Yes.
And that's what a Power Agent is.
Coaching, I love it.
Man, I love it, dude. I love it.
I'm still hung up on that integrity.
Yeah, that was cool, wasn't it? That totally. Right? We should have given about 3 minutes to ponder that for a minute. Yeah. But that was the interpretation of integrity. Was a real estate professional or the real estate act of helping somebody with
fair
real estate?
Dealings with people in the transfer of property. Quote.
Holy cow!
Quote.
Holy cow! And what year was that?
1898.
That's longer ago than me. Man, oh man.
I don't believe that.
I don't know, with that white hair, Monty, you look like maybe you were licensed back in 18.
Yep.
Man, that is so cool. You are speaking our love language, brother. I mean that sincerely. I've told many times I have helped over 3,000 families in my career buy or sell real estate personally, but I don't know that I've ever sold a house. I don't know that I ever have. I maybe helped people make reduce it to these are the reasons or why they're really going to do what they're going to do. But I know all the closing techniques. Who was the guy, Tommy Hopkins? I went to his classes back in the day. Do you remember Tommy?
Oh, of
yeah,
course.
he's awesome.
Would you like your couch on this wall, or would that wall be better?
Yeah. I knew all the closings, but I said, that just doesn't resonate with who I am. I'm a servant. I serve people, and I'm just really blessed that it happens to be an occupation that I get paid well, but I'm just about loving and serving people.
This hits on a topic Monte and I, because sometimes, and this is something I'm falling on my sword here, because sometimes I wish Monte would just freaking close already, but he's talking about the woo woo and the this and the that, and I love it. But this brought me back down to, I love it. We're coaching, not closing. I mean, it's amazing. Thanks so much, Darryl. Yeah. I had a question for you. At what point in your career did you decide that you wanted to switch from, because clearly you have the track record on the sales side, At what point did you realize that, I have something more I want to give this industry, when you decided to switch over to coaching?
Good question.
Okay, so that's a great question. So I'll be honest with you. It's only in the last several years. I mean, I've been doing this so long, but it's really been maybe the last 5 years have I realized that my passion and conviction for the real estate industry and helping agents and everything that you're hearing come out of me now. So just to give the background, initially, I got into real estate because I wanted to be an actor. And in the show business world, the joke is, when you say you're an actor, they say, "Oh, really? What restaurant are you playing?" So, and I didn't want to do that. So I found out about real estate, and that's a funny story in and of itself. But anyway, I found out about real estate while I was in college. As a theater major, I took my state hours that I needed. I got my exam, and I passed, and then I got into real estate. And I thought real estate I would do part-time while I'd still go into Manhattan and audition for movies or plays and stuff. Well, what happened is I succeeded really quickly at real estate, and then I became a manager of an office that we opened up from scratch, me and the broker, and that was successful. And so I kind of just went on this path, and then the stage and speaking was because I love the stage. Mm-hmm. So I took my experience as a successful agent and started hitting the stage. So I did speaking before I did coaching. Mm. And so the coaching has developed over time, and now I've been resolved that, okay, this is who I am. This is what God has meant me to be, is to make a difference in the world using this platform to do that. And when I realized just how powerful real estate is, again, it's been in the last 5 years. When you think about everything evolves around real estate, mm-hmm. There's unfortunately wars over pieces of real estate. The White House sits on a piece of real estate. If we are close to our faith, we go to a place that's on real estate. Earth is a piece of real estate in the universe. Mm. Come on now. Mm-hmm. Everything evolves around real estate. Real estate touches everything. Mm-hmm. And so once I got the profoundness of what this industry is where I am today. So that's it.
Love it.
Wow. Well, I'm blown away. I'm like Blake, I'm back there on that integrity thing, because, dude, that's our love language here at Realty One Group Music City, is doing the next right thing, and that's all about integrity. And it's not rocket science. It's about loving people, honoring people that are trusting you with one of the most important experiences of their life, with their homes. And so thank you for sharing today, man. I mean, you didn't know me from anybody. I didn't know you from anybody until you took the time to do the research. Thank God that you did the research, because the outcome of this research is changing people's lives, and changing people's lives is changing memories. It goes on and on and on. But you've helped change our life today with the things you brought today, man. I'm so grateful for you. I really, really. Well,
listen, I want to give your listeners one last thing, and if they wanted to get more of anything that we've got, whether it's resources or find out about our coaching or something, if they go to our website, which is darrylspeaks.com. DARRYL is the right way to spell Darryl. darrylspeaks.com. And they can see and get more information. So
you took the words out of my mouth. I wanted to make sure everybody could reach you. And I guess you don't want to share your cell number. I've got that on your form here.
Yeah, maybe not this round.
But let's remember darrylspeaks.com to know more about this man who has the audacity to challenge the idea of the love letter and to bring us back into reality that integrity originally was all about our business, basically, about exchanging land. Thank you, Darryl.
Yeah, thanks so much, Darryl.
Thank you so much, man.
you, guys.
We'll be talking again soon. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to the Talk of Music City Real Estate. Be sure and dial in again next week. And wow, what a great time. You didn't do it that bad for Carey Ann. I'm sure she'll be proud.
Can I come back?
Yeah, you can come back. Let's come back and let's do this again. Okay.
All right. See you next week.
Thanks, everybody.